Hello and welcome to this workshop on Happy Mind, Healthy Gut, where I'm joined by Nikki Golly. My name is Katrina Horn and I'm a life coach, and I help my clients close the gap between their real lives and their ideal lives so that they can be all of who they are and really live the life of their desires. Over to you, Nikki.
Hello, hello. I am Nikki Golly, and I talk about the elephant in the room that everybody's doing. Yes, you and you and you. Everyone's doing, but nobody's talking about. Any idea what that might be? This is my favorite childhood book. Yes, I talk about poop because it's important. Most people have no idea what's happening within their body because they're not paying attention to what's coming out. Thus, they are eating things that they're either allergic to, sensitive to, or their body just doesn't agree with. There's so many things that we can do. We'll have some fun. I promise there won't be any gross things, but yes, we'll have a little bit of a poop conversation because it's important. What comes out of your body lets you know what's happening within your body, what you're eating, how your body's working, and if things aren't happening normal, well, what is normal? We'll go into that a little bit too. What is normal? Ideally, we're supposed to go to the bathroom, number two, every single day. If we're not going every single day, we're actually considered constipated. And there's a lot of things that you can do to help it, which I'll get into further. But again, I am Nikki Golly. Yes, I talk about poop. I'm the poop lady, but it's really about vitality of life. It's really about making money. It's really about feeling good within your body because those are all the most important. And when you feel good in your body, you make more money. If you're in business, if you're working for someone, you actually have more vitality. You show up better. You're more authentic. You're more there because you're not worried about your body not working properly. So, a little bit of backstory about me is that I have a nutrition dietetics degree, and I also worked in a supplement store for many years, really to figure out my own issues. I started out a really sick kid, miserable sick, like screaming as a 2-year-old with massive ear infections, going to the doctor all the time. Fast forward to essentially having arthritis symptoms when I was in middle school. I couldn't do the quote unquote girl push-ups because my knees hurt so bad. I was miserable. I was sick all the time. Every season, allergies, you name it, I had all of the symptoms. And all the while, I was pooping once a week. But no one knew. No one knew to ask me. No one brought the conversation up. And so that's why I'm a big one to bring that conversation of like, let's talk poop. Let's get rid of the stigma. Let's have less people that are miserable and start feeling good because, yes, I talk poop, but it's really, again, about your life and your energy level and your vitality and how good you can feel when everything works properly. So that's kind of a little bit of why I got, because so many people are miserable and I was miserable for way too long. In fact, I was miserable for 27 years. I was miserable. So I am taking it all off, showing up in a big way, and let's talk poop and get everyone healthier and feel better in the process.
Brilliant.
So,
Thank you, Nikki. That is just so well said, and how joyful that you did come out of it, right? And that you're now here to share all your gorgeous knowledge. And what the reason we really got together is that we think that is this connection between the mind and the gut, and that we can influence our mood and obviously our health from either side, if you see what I mean. So that's why we got together today. If you're here live, please feel free to use the chat to comment or to ask questions of either Nikki or myself. If you're watching the replay, feel free to also put your comments in the comment box below. And we shall get to all your questions, I suspect. But let's get started. Let's really dive in, shall we, Nikki?
yes, yes, yes. Okay, let me bring up the agenda of what we are talking about today once that actually shows up. Here we are. So overall wellness, just the brain connection with the body. Stress, how stress affects us, the effects on the body, and then, of course, what we can do to manage it. And then also brain health, food, and we have some fun activities as well as some education. And shall I jump right in, or do you want to say something, Christine? Okay.
Please go
All
ahead.
right. So, first thing, let's jump right in. There's tiny change, one tiny change that can make a huge difference in your energy level, in your income, in your focus, your mental clarity, and your quality of life. Yes, pooping, but no, that is not actually the answer. Poop's important. Yes, we're going to get there. But what is one tiny change? Let's put some in the chat. Let's get some fingers warmed up. It's still kind of early or late, depending on where in the world you are. That's the amazing part about Zoom is we are all over the world. I have someone from Bangladesh here, a couple people from the States. We have a couple people from, well, France, I believe. What do we got? Self-awareness, energy level, yes. What is one tiny change that you can do? One tiny change. Any guesses? We got a couple people, few things. All right, I'm just gonna give it to you. Drink more water. It seems so simple. It is so overlooked. There you go. Cheers. Yes, I see some water bottles. Yes, yes, yes. Cheers. Water is so simple and yet so overlooked. The first thing, it's like, it seems so easy about drinking more water, but how much water? So some people are like, oh, I could drink water. Water is great. I mean, I drink a glass a day, or the old adage of 64 ounces or 8 ounce glasses of water. That's good, but it's a little too, like, you don't know it's for you. But a better word or a better tip is really, we'll have to do some conversions here for all of you that are not in the US because my brain works in ounces and pounds. Sorry about that, but it does. But one of the best ways is to take your body weight in pounds, so kilos times 2.2, is half of your body weight in pounds in ounces of water. So say you're a 150-pound person, the ideal amount is to drink around 75 ounces of water. That seems like a lot. And for a lot of people, that is a lot. But it is amazing at just everything within our body. We are 70% water as humans. Like our skin, our eyes, our blood, everything is made up of water. So if we are not drinking enough water, our body's not going to work properly. I go back to poop. Yes, right? Your digestion is not going to work properly if there's not enough water in your system. Your colon, your colon and your rectum, those are the big, your large intestine before it essentially what your body can't use gets rid of it as poop. The main reason for your colon is to pull water out of what your body can't absorb, like what you can't absorb, that's not right. What you can't digest and your body can't use essentially is poop. But that colon, its whole process is to pull water and some nutrients out of your stool. And if you're not hydrated enough, what it has to do is pull more water out of your colon. So if you pull more water out of your colon, what's going to happen? It's going to slow things down. It's going to harden things up. It's going to make it uncomfortable to actually go to the bathroom. So water, it seems so simple, but drinking half your body weight in ounces of water, that's roughly around 2 liters for most people if we're converting it back. But it is so simple, but so powerful. So water, super simple. Go ahead.
I've got a question for you, Nikki, because I've been told that when you go to the loo, that's British for using the bathroom,
Yes.
and you pee, if it's really, really dark yellow, you're not hydrated enough. And if it's as clear as water, you're overhydrated. So it needs to be that sort of a straw color, I was told. Could you confirm or deny this?
Yeah, the lighter a color, the better. You don't want it to be completely clear all the time. If it's complete clear once or twice, it's not something to worry about. But if it's clear all the time, you're probably not getting enough vitamins in your diet if you're drinking that much water and everything's clear. But yeah, if it's dark in color, sometimes it'll throw it off if you take like a multivitamin, because B2 riboflavin will make your pee like neon yellow. That's not that you're taking something wrong. That means you're taking a vitamin that essentially too much in your body is just getting rid of it. But yes, the lighter in color is ideal. So like a light yellow color. I don't have anything on my desk that's that proper color, but the lighter, the better. Almost clear is actually okay. If not completely clear, a few times is okay, like I said. But if it's completely clear a lot, you might be a little bit overhydrated, or you need to eat more vitamins and minerals, like your fruits and veggies will make a difference too.
Well, thank you for
Awesome.
clarifying all of that.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. All right, let me go back to sharing. I have another beautiful slide. I will pass it over to my partner. Okay, little bit. The other piece I wanted, well, actually, before I share that, I was going to pass it over to you a little bit. You had some information to share before I dive into stress.
No, I think we can go ahead with stress because, I mean,
Okay.
we're going to get there anyway, aren't we? Because that is really one of the connection points we've got here. So please go ahead. Tell us
Okay, all right, all
all we
right.
need
Just
to know
wanted to,
about
didn't want to
stress.
take it over. That's the amazing part. Okay, whoop, stress. So the other thing that you can do, I talk about this probably a third of the time I have conversations with people, we talk about stress. Our bodies are amazing machines. We can handle stress. Most people are like, oh, if you ask them if they're stressed, they say, no, really, I'm not really stressed. Or some people on a scale from 1 to 5, the average is like 3 to 4, some of the times if stress is high at a 5. But what happens is our bodies adapt to stress. We expect stress. But stress used to be a really, really, really good response for us. Stress is your fight or flight nervous system. That's your sympathetic nervous system. So if your sympathetic nervous system is triggered on all the time, it turns off something called your parasympathetic nervous system. So it works kind of like a teeter-totter with this picture. So stress, if you're a lot of stress, then it turns off that parasympathetic nervous system. And that parasympathetic nervous system is also known as your rest and digest. Do you think if you're super stressed all the time, you're going to digest well or poop very well? No, no, the answer is no. So the system, this sympathetic nervous system is that stress, fight, or flight nervous system. So if you go back into the caveman days where all of our systems kind of started, is that stress response would save you. Someone is going to, have a you have a saber-toothed tiger outside your cave. It's going to eat you. Like, oh my God, stress. Like, you have to be in a fight or flight, fight, flight, freeze, right? Those are the big things. You run, you fight, you hide. That is an amazing system. It's going to keep you alive. But now that stress system in our day and age, that stress system is triggered by your in-laws, is triggered by work. It's triggered by the access code to Zoom not working. It's triggered by family. It's just triggered by so many things. It's triggered by our body's not ability to sleep. So our bodies are designed to go through periods of fight or flight, but then we're also supposed to calm the system and increase that parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest. But if everything in your life triggers you, do you ever calm that down and actually increase that parasympathetic nervous system so you have that rest and digest? When you have that calming system, it just doesn't trigger. Most of the time, everyone's just in fight or flight all the time. Our body's processed in that stays in that. We don't even feel it anymore just because that's our way of being. It's like, I got to do this and I got to run from this and I got to run from this. And especially, I think where you, where, where Christina is, that culture is a little better than we are in the United States. In the United States, it's like you fill your schedule, you gotta go, 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 you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this, which yes, Jose, you raise your cortisol levels. You raise your cortisol levels, which affects your sleep, it affects your entire body. That's totally true. Your body can't heal in a state of stress. If you're stressed, your body can't heal. So rest and digest and heal is that parasympathetic nervous system. So in a minute, we will actually go through an activity that will help trigger trigger that parasympathetic nervous system and calm down your stress signals. You can do this. We actually have to consciously do this now. It's not just an automatic thing because our lives are so full. Our lives are so busy. We're continuously doing things that keep things going. Like I said, we're just busy. We're full lives. We have full lives. Christina, you have something.
Yeah, fortunately, we have got full lives, but it also means that we have to take the reins of it. If we are just reacting, as Nikki has been describing to us, if we are just responding with that stress, with those fight and flight and freeze reactions, well, then we will stay in the stress. So we consciously have to make intentionally something to calm ourselves down. Right? So it becomes, for some people, a chore, like having to calm ourselves down and relax because we think we are missing out on something, don't we? We think that, oh, I must go and do. So we become these doing machines. And it really affects not only, as Nikki has been saying, our physiological body, but also our mental health. So
Mhm.
as Nikki said, we are stressed out by many things. Like you can be stressed out having nothing to do the whole day. You can be stressed out just by your mother-in-law, as Nikki said, or you can be stressed out by thinking about your children taking the bus to school, or you can be stressed out about things in your mind. So, of course, as Nikki said, if there's that tiger in front of you, you want to feel stress, right? But you really don't want to have the permanent kind of stress that is in your mind. Because if you're here with us today, chances are that there are no immediate dangers to your life right now. So in reality, you really are safe right now. There is nothing to stop you from being safe in the moment. So if you are feeling that sort of low stress like anxiety or worry, we can get addicted to that. It can become a habit. And it's that habit we want to break when we want to really feel better in our physical body, in our guts, and in our minds. Wouldn't you agree, Nikki?
Definitely, definitely. It's so powerful when you, again, we just live in stress. It's like a normal everyday occurrence. I didn't feel like I was stressed for a long time until I started getting into the practices that I'm going to share a little bit about today to calm my system down. I'm like, wow, just like after just a few minutes, I was like, wow, I'm so much calmer. But I didn't feel stressed to begin with. So it is powerful. And I know I kind of shared the screen, but I I was jumping ahead. I know you had things that work the same when it comes to thoughts.
Yes.
Let
So
me let me get my screen so you have it correct.
what I wanted to get into is that the only way we can really influence our body's response to our emotions, because emotions are just hormones really being released. We can't really stop those hormones. We can't say, no, 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 I'm not having that. I'm not having that hormone. I want more of that hormone. We don't have that control. The only point of control we've got is what we are thinking, because what we are thinking will have us feel something. And that is really why we can train ourselves to have better feeling hormones in our bodies by thinking positively. And as you can see from the screen here, negativity weighs us down and positivity lifts us up. really. So that what I want to really stress here is I used to teach positive psychology, and I think it's got a bad name because people think it means that we have to be positive all of the time, or we have to sugarcoat. We have to sugarcoat our what we think, or we have to only think about positive things. But that is not really what positive psychology means. It just means that many things are true at the same time. There are live events, there are things happening in the world, there are facts, and we can think about them in many ways. But let's say your cat just died. You don't want to think, oh, that's great. Well, I hope not. At any rate, we
I
want
hope
to
not.
feel, we want to feel sad sometimes because what happens to us makes us feel sad, and we don't want to sugarcoat that. So what I'm talking about now is not forcing yourself to be positive all of the time, because that would not be realistic, because life is made out of all of the feelings. Our feelings are just a guide, really, to help us see, am I on the right track or am I deviating towards another one? So as Nikki and I are advocating for, there is a connection between how our minds are and how our guts are. So we want to influence in both directions. And your grip here is on the thoughts you're thinking. And you can choose to look at the positive side of things or at the negative side of things. And I'm sure you would agree that you all know about the glass half empty or the glass half full with the same quantity of liquid in it, right? So we've got a choice here. But as Nikki has been saying, we're sort of programmed into focusing more on negativity because negativity keeps us safe, because it makes us see dangers. So we avoid dangers, except that today we don't really have those dangers, but our mind doesn't realize that. So we really have to train it. We have to train it to see more on the bright side of life without sugarcoating it. So that is something that you can start doing. You can start noticing all through the day. Like you can set a timer and then you can feel in to what you're thinking and how you're feeling. So that was enormously useful to me at one point in my life where I was stressed out of my mind. That's really when I found self-development. I'd sort of been reading one of the old ones, Cheryl Richardson. I hope she doesn't mind calling her old. I mean, she's not older than I am, but she was one of the first ones to sort of be broadly available to the public. And she had this brilliant exercise that really helped me, which was that several times during the day, you stop what you're doing and you just check in with how you're feeling. So you can check in with how you're feeling and perhaps name that feeling. The more we learn to recognize our feelings and to name them, the more literate we become in our feelings or emotions. Today, as I'm talking, emotions or feelings for this purpose are the same things. So when you check in and ask yourself, oh, what am I feeling? Well, you have to stop a minute, don't you? You have to slow down and you have to stop what it is you're doing. How am I feeling? Try to name it. And if you want to go one step further, you can ask yourself, what am I thinking that is generating this feeling? So some of us access our feelings really easily, and other people access their thoughts more easily. You can sort of enter this exercise by one or the other, whichever feels most easy to you. But ideally, you would have an answer to both. So several times during the day, please stop what you're doing. It needn't take minutes. It could be as short as 1 minute just to feel into how you feel. And then what is my thinking at the moment? What am I thinking that provokes this feeling? Does that make sense? Yeah, Nikki, go ahead.
That is beautiful. First thing, when you talked about emotions, emotions are just, I've always understood emotions as energy in motion, right? So you don't necessarily always have to be happy, you can be sad, but actually letting that emotion out lets you transmute it into something different. Then you can kind of go back to feeling good. But back to that exercise that you talked about, it's so powerful. I did this a couple years ago. I always thought like I'm a pretty happy person, just in general. Like I'm exuberant. I've had some traumas in my past that I've kind of like risen above and just been a happy person in general. But outwardly, I would always be happy. But checking in with myself, I would beat myself up for a lot of things. I would show up and it was like, oh, what am I feeling? Like, what am I feeling? And I'm like, I'm scared or I'm shamed for myself or I'm not doing the right things. Or there was so many emotions that would come up that just kind of checking in is like, do I want to feel that? Do I want to take that into, because again, the more you're feeling, you take that into your day. You take that in, other people feel that. Even though I seem to be like happy and go lucky all the time, but I would beat myself up. So when I
Mm.
would check in with my actual feelings, it was like how could I change that? Let's transmute that and kind of get feeling even better. Feel good. Again, the better you feel, the better your kind of body works. When you're feeling good, when you're even feeling good about yourself or what you're doing, things kind of fall into place easier, which is really, really powerful. So that's what I just wanted to say that.
So what I like, just to speak to what you just said, what I like to do is to ask myself, if I'm feeling really sad because I'm thinking a thought, then I ask myself, well, what would be a better feeling thought? And then I start wiggling around with what it is I'm thinking. And I've got a lot of wiggle space because I can be thinking, oh, it's raining today. I won't be able to go for my walk. And I can start being really downhearted about it. But I can actually change that, right? Instead of saying, oh, I can't go for my walk, I can say, oh, if I put on my rain gear, I could still go for a walk. And that makes me feel a little bit better. And then I can think about all the plants and flowers and trees that get watered. And I think, oh, that's really quite good. And then I can think, oh, well, maybe it could be quite fun going out in the rain. Remember when we were little and we loved to sort of splash around in puddles? I mean, we can really train ourselves to start thinking differently about most things in life, except the things we don't want to think differently about, right? Except the things we want to be sad about. Like, let's not fiddle with those.
That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just kind of retraining your mind. I've always thought like no matter the situation, there's always a silver lining. Like, what is that silver lining? And sometimes it takes practice. And sometimes after you practice it a bit, it just kind of comes natural. It's like, oh, I got a flat tire. Oh my gosh. Well, silver lining is what if you, like that flat tire put you behind just enough that you missed the car accident that was going to happen? Like there's a positive or, oh my gosh, yeah, you have that flat tire, but it was flat before you left. You didn't have to change it on the side of the highway. Like there's little things that you could really find that are a silver lining. Like I said, whatever situation is like, oh my, yeah, find the silver lining. It is so true. Like, oh my gosh, like the laundry didn't get cleaned and blah blah. And so now I don't have clothes to wear. It's like, well, now I have an option to find something new or have a new experience or there's always a silver lining in whatever the situation. Um, just a little tidbit about me. I've actually dealt with a lot of death in my life. People close to me that have passed away. And that's a tough one because most people can't find a silver lining in that but it's happened. Honestly, I am grateful for all the people that have passed away. Granted, I took healing and it didn't immediately happen, but I am able now to speak about it. I had a lot of deaths when I was younger, so I healed and I got more my communication with God, my communication with just the powers that be. That my dad passed away about 2 years ago, and I know that he's in a good place because of everything that I've done. Granted, it's a major silver lining, and most people don't experience quite the way that I have, but I can be grateful that he's now happier and being somewhere different. But that's a big silver lining, even to something that you wouldn't think there would ever be a silver lining to. So,
Brilliant.
yeah,
Yes, let's move on. We've got lots more to share, right,
we
Nikki?
do, we do. Okay, let me get to my screen, two different screens here. Okay, so let's talk about, since I take us really heavy, let's breathe. Breathing is an amazing, it's so easy. Again, just like water, so easily overlooked, but breathing, something you always have with you, something you can never forget at home, is your breath, is just focusing on your breath. So there is one activity that I want to do, but just overall the breathing. If you're in a tight situation, if you're feeling stressed, if something's like, there is so many things that you can do. There's a million different breaths out there, but focusing on your breath, like taking a few deep breaths and breathing in and actually feeling the sensation of the cold air in your nostrils. Like typically, I would say breathing through your nose is better than breathing through our mouths, just because it calms us down. It slows our breath. We can get a lot of breath in fast with our mouth, but it takes a lot longer to get in through your nose. So typically most of the breathing that we're going to do is through your nose because it slows you down. Again, lowers that sympathetic, brings up that parasympathetic nervous system. But I actually want us to walk through a box breathing today. Does anyone know box breathing? Show of hands. I see some nods. Some people actually know that one. Perfect. Yes, box breathing is powerful. And what I'm actually going to do, because why not share something easy that all of you can have easy access to, is a YouTube video. So I'm going to share a YouTube video about
like
box
Justin Bieber
breathing.
and The Rock generate
The
hundreds of millions
thing
of
is, I
dollars. It's
think,
actually not.
okay, let me get to it here. Of course, commercial. Even if I start it beforehand, I still get a commercial. But box breathing. So a few of you know what box breathing is. It is a powerful breath. It's also used by the Navy SEALs when in situations like Navy SEALs purposely put themselves in high stakes, high stress periods, right? Okay, now it's loading. Come on, load. There we go. In high stakes. So they use this tactic, box breathing, to kind of regulate their nervous system, regulate their system so they can actually make good choices. When we're in stress, we don't typically make really good choices. Especially like Navy SEALs, they're in situations that they have to save people's lives. Like their brain needs to be online. Their brain needs to be working properly. And if they're stressed, it's not going to work properly. So this is one of my absolute favorite videos. Super easy. Like I said, it's just on YouTube. It helps to calm. So it's a box breathing and it kind of walks you through it. And I'll just do it along with you. We'll do it for about 2.5, 3 minutes. And what it is box breathing. So you breathe like you're in a box. So you breathe in for a count of 4. You hold full for a count of 4. You breathe out for a count of 4, and then you hold empty for a count of 4. So you essentially breathe like you're breathing in a box. I don't want to stay in the box, but breathing like a box is really powerful. So if you breathe like a box, what it does is it's not a normal breath cadence. You actually have to think about it. So it's going to stop your brain from thinking or stressing or going over and over and over again, which is usually what's stress, right? When you're majorly stressed, you have a certain thing that just runs through your head over and over and over again. You can't stop it. Like, oh my God, I need to go to bed. Like, I can't go to bed. Why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? I need to sleep. Why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? Like, that's a stress response that's going over and over again. But so box breathing, you actually have to think about it. So the video is great, or the counting it yourself is really powerful too. But when you count it and you actually breathe like a box, what you're doing is you are taking that brain space that would be worrying about something, keeping you in that stress state, and you're actually doing it, you're counting. So counting, holding full, breathing out, holding empty. So it's not an automatic breath. So you have to think about it. And by thinking about it, kind of triggers that left brain into really thinking about it. And then you can't think about two different things at once. You're thinking about that, which kind of calms the system down. So is everyone ready? Some people already know how to do it. I see some people already like practicing breathing. I love it. Okay, all right, we're gonna play this and in and out through the nose, like I said, through the nose earlier. So it'll give us a count in. So in through the nose, hold it, out through the nose, hold it. And then we're just going to kind of breathe like a box for a couple minutes and see how it feels. So check in now, and then we'll check in a couple minutes. So breathe in. Okay, since I turned it off, you can all breathe out. How does everyone feel? Put something in the chat. Do you notice a difference? For those of you that are seasoned veterans, it looks like Evan was a seasoned veteran. You're also on my screen, that helps. But how do we feel? Grounded even more. Yes, grounded, Brandon. Relaxed, right? That was just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of just focusing on your breath. And oh, tingly fingers. Yes. Tingling. That is a very common thing that I hear, is just kind of tingling. You're hyper oxygenating your blood by breathing and really focusing and calming things down. Yes, box. Yeah, it's something that we know of, but actually practicing it is something completely different. But yeah, super, super powerful. Thank you for doing that along with me and feeling a little calmer, because that's what it's all about. All right. Well, with that, I will pass it over to Miss Christina.
Yes. So we've got emotions, as we said, and sometimes we just want to shove them down. Like Nikki told us, she was like a happy-go-lucky girl, always exuberant, always sort of happy on the outside. And maybe that is what was expected of her, right? So we might have sort of identified with a certain kind of personality, and that's what we will always revert to. But what if we could actually just be with all our emotions and allow them to be there? What if that was possible? What if we weren't afraid of feeling disappointment, frustration, anger, all of those feelings? They're really quite safe as long as we're just feeling them. If we start taking action from them, now that's a different story. So let's just stay with the feelings. One way of getting really focused on what it is we are feeling is that we feel it in our bodies, because it's so easy to start analyzing it in our minds, isn't it? It's so easy to think, oh, I'm angry and here's why. And then we go over why it is we're angry or frustrated or whatever it is. If we just sort of short circuit the brain and no longer try to analyze it, but just really be present with it in our bodies, well, then we're so much further along. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. So there is a way where we can just be present with the feeling in our body. We can describe it where it is. We can say, oh, I'm feeling angry, and I can feel it's in sort of the top of my stomach. I can feel it there. And then we can describe it. What does it look like? And then we can start being really specific about the color, the size, whether it's even or whether there are bumps on it, and what shape it is. Has it got a smell? We can ask ourselves all those questions and get really familiar with that feeling, even if it's a feeling we don't enjoy feeling. We're switching off the mind and we're getting into the body. And that is so useful, because once we are present with our feeling in our bodies, we normalize it. So if you're like everybody else on this planet, we can have a sort of no reaction to feelings we don't like. But really, if we no longer had to react to the feelings, if we could just feel the feelings, well, then we could be afraid and not mind, or we could be sad and not mind, or we could be impatient and not mind, not being afraid to feel the feeling. So we do that by becoming present. And once we have sort of told our subconscious that this is what it looks like in the body to be angry, this is what it feels like in the body to be sad, this is what it feels like, looks like, smells like, everything like in our body, then our subconscious just thinks, oh, okay, we can do this, right? So it normalizes all the feelings. And of course, once you can be present with your, what we call negative feelings, well, then you can also be much more present with all your positive feelings. Then you can go so much deeper in how you love, like you can sort of ramp up the love or the joy or whatever it is that you want to feel more of. You can be much more present with it. All the while, you're just teaching your subconscious really to accept it. Like there's nothing has gone wrong, right? We're feeling this feeling. It's normal. It's there, and we're okay. So what I tell my clients is that it's okay to feel the feelings, but let's not take action on a feeling. Let's not take action that will have permanent consequences, perhaps, because we felt a feeling, right? So we want to first become familiar with the feeling before we logically, with our analytical mind, decide on what we're going to do about it. If we're going to react to it, or if we're going to take any action, or perhaps not. Perhaps just be with the feeling, right? So first of all, we go into our bodies to normalize the feeling, and then we can switch on our analytical mind to decide whether we want to take action on it. And if we do it in that order, well, then we don't have these emotional responses, and we don't have knee-jerk reactions, and we don't end up regretting what we said or did or anything like that. And that also contributes to calming down that nervous system that Nikki has been telling us about.
Beautiful. You are so right. Just, I never thought about the physical representation of a feeling. You said if it's bumpy or if it's hard or rigid, or like, I never thought about it like that. Thank you so much.
It's
All
my
right. So I apologize. I shared the screen in the middle of that because I was like, whoops, wait, that's the wrong slide. Okay. But I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We're talking about the brain. And I wanted, because I'm a nutritionist, yes, I talk more than just poop, talking about what is one really good food that is really good for our brain. And our brain and our second brain, which is also known as our gut, are really interconnected. One, again, underutilized and really powerful, similar to water and our breath, is omega-3s. Omega-3s come from fish. That's the picture. Is they do so many different things. They fight inflammation all over the body. They fight inflammation. They also help to lubricate your joints, not just brain stuff, right? It actually decreases the risk of cardiovascular disease. Major. It also decreases the risk of death from heart disease or cardiovascular disease. So if you have cardiovascular disease, omega-3s benefit. If you're worried about getting cardiovascular disease, eat more omega-3s. It also decreases blood clots. So omega-3s are an anti-inflammatory fat that's found in fish. Like I said, it's found in a few other things, but cold water fish is really the best. It also lowers triglycerides. So all of these things are amazing. It's so powerful. I have a whole nother slide on what it does for your brain. Again, I talk about it, the amazing part about nutrition, and when you focus things on the underlying level, that you can make a difference in pretty much everything within the body. It is one whole body. That is one of my gripes about the medical industry is you can take a drug, but it only works for that one specific thing. When you do it nutritionally and you really get down to the underlying things, it works with everything. So specifically for the brain, omega-3s help to sharpen memory, improves memory, even protects the brain. Again, it fights inflammation. So if it fights inflammation and it lowers inflammation in your brain, it lowers inflammation all over your body, things are just going to work better. Yes, you'll probably poop better too. It also improves cognitive function. So basically how your brain works, how like remembering names or remembering that you needed to go to the store, remembering your kids that got dropped off, you need to go pick them up at a certain time. Like all of these things can really be dramatically helped with omega-3s. Far underutilized, but really, really, really powerful. So a simple yet important thing. Omega-3s, like I said, come in cold water fish. Most people take the skin off. Salmon is probably the best. It honestly, the omega-3 content is better with wild, but even the farm raised have still pretty good omega-3 content. But the most important part is if you've ever cooked fish, let me stop here. If you've ever cooked fish and the skin kind of peels off after you cook it, the omega-3s, the highest amount of omega-3s are in that layer in between the skin and the flesh. So eat the skin. If you take anything away from today, I mean, we gave a lot of gold today, but one, eat the skin or eat that fat layer in between the fish and the flesh because it is so good for you. That's what's in all those omega-3 pills most of the time. All right. And I know we're getting short on time, so I'm going to pass it over to Christine. Should I share
Please
first?
do. We are going to
Okay.
sort of start winding down, summing up. You can still put comments in the chat. You can still ask questions. We'd be happy to share. So if you could share the screen again, Nikki, that
Ooh,
would be wonderful.
whoop.
We're going to just
Thought I shared. I didn't actually click the share button. There we go.
okay, that would
Perfect. There we
explain
go.
it. So we've been talking about emotional, mind, gut, body, overall health, right? We want to be happy, and a happy gut, healthy mind, or a happy mind, healthy gut, it really means the same. So
Yep.
Nikki has been brilliantly talking about some of the little steps we can take that are really, really easy, but it's not enough to think about it. Like you really have to go and do it, right? And how we can get a grip on our mental health is by being really honest with ourselves and opening up to our feelings, being aware of what it is we're feeling and not stuffing them down. When we stuff our feelings down, they're still there, right? And they're wreaking havoc with our physiology as well as our mental health, right? So the tips were check in with your feelings. What are my thoughts? What thoughts are making me feel this? And how do I want to think about this? There's always a silver lining, as we've been saying, Dr. Sandy and Nikki. There is always a silver lining to things. Now, what do you choose to think? So please don't think you can train yourself to switch from being more negative to positive in an afternoon, right? It will take practice, as with anything, it takes practice, but you can start, and you can start today. That is really what Nick and I would advise you to start today. Drink more water, right? Have some of those omega-3s and become really, really aware of what it is you're feeling and thinking. What do you want to add, Nikki?
That was it. I'm just like, yes, you can do these things today. There's a couple of things that I have. So the tiny changes that I talked about, drink more water, eat your omega-3s, and breathe. Calm your system down. Everything will work better. And obviously, pay attention to what's going on with your digestive system. That is a big, big piece, because the better you poop, the more money you make, the better you feel, your whole body works better when you pay attention to the little things like water, breathing, and yes, bowel movements.
And if I can just advocate for this mindfulness, I've been talking about being present with your feelings, with what you do, processing your emotions, and we haven't been talking about it, but meditation. And I know that Nikki is a big meditator. You don't have to be. 2 minutes is fabulous. 5 is extraordinary. Try it out just a little bit today and just keep it for a little bit for as long as it takes. It really calms everything down if you're not ruminating. If you're ruminating, stop, right? But why not practice this box breathing we've been doing with Nikki to calm yourself down and just empty your mind. Stay there with an empty mind and come back to it after a few minutes. You can do that several times during the day. What do you want to add, Nikki?
Yes, I would say what that came up in the chat a few times is the consistency. Don't beat yourself up for the past. You can't beat yourself up for the past, but you can move forward with consistency. And that takes me to what I wanted to offer everyone today. Well, focusing on digestion, we're going to kind of breeze through this one because we are running short on time. But I wanted to offer everyone today for a one-on-one call. I have a Better Poops, Bigger Profits call that I wanted to extend to everyone that is here. Yes, we're going to talk poop just a little bit, just because it's an important, but really diving into what is the biggest thing for you and figuring out consistency. How can I help you to be more consistent in taking care of yourself? So normally for these calls, I normally charge $247, but for everyone that's here and even the ones on the replay, reach out to me. I'll happily do it complimentary only for the first 5. For the first 5, so get on my calendar. I actually have a calendar let's see if this works. Maybe.
And if you're watching the replay,
Nope.
don't despair, because the calendar link will be in the email going out with the replay. So please go back to the
Yes.
email that you received. And
Also, yes, for the first 5, I actually have a cookbook. That is, I don't, if I point at it, I'm sure on the screen. It's a simple ways to eat more vegetables. So it has amazing recipes in it, even stuff that you can hide if you have picky family or anything. I will gift you my cookbook, Simple Ways to Eat More Veggies. But again, only for the first 5, I will do that completely complimentary, getting you feeling amazing, because that's what it's all about. Getting you better poops, bigger profits, and feeling amazing and being consistent. Because that's what I'm hearing from most of you is the consistency of taking care of yourself. That is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Let me stop sharing.
exactly. It's not just knowledge. I mean, we say that information is not transformation, right? The transformation will happen once you start practicing it. And I would like to offer you my guided meditation on how to process your emotions. So that will be going out with the replay. So watch out for your inbox. There will be a link to that meditation, as well as all the links for Nikki, also to the first 5 who respond. I would love to offer you a live audit session that you can go ahead and book if you want to create change in your life. So we're not only talking about physical health or mental health, we're looking at your life all round. So if there's any area in your life where you feel, oh, I'm not really satisfied here, it could be so much better, please go ahead and book yourself in for a life audit session with me. It's complimentary for the first 5 people. So all of this information will be in the replay going out. So please avail yourself of all this gorgeousness.
And thank you all for being here and spending this time with us this morning or this evening, whatever time zone you are in. And we appreciate you for being here. Thank you for all the love in the chat. And if there's any questions, we will stay around and answer any of them. I know consistency is key for all of us.
Right.
Even
So
myself.
I'll go ahead and stop the recording. So if you're watching the replay, thank you very much for having spent this hour with us. We are so honored. We'd love to hear from you. So please go ahead, respond to the email, reach out to Nikki or to myself. Goodbye for now.